what would be the strengths that you see in the Indian economy in Karnataka? And what would be your wish lists? What are the things we need to do to be able to gain that opportunity, right? That's one part of the question. The second part of the question is, to what extent do you think the drive towards self-reliance, make in India, indigenous production is helpful in this whole business of enjoying the benefits of supply chain movements? I'll start with you.
Yeah. So I think in order to attract more business, both domestic and foreign investors to India, I think people, of course, look for talent, you know, not just engineers and scientists, but also, of course, electricians, skilled laborers. And I think there is a good flow in India, but a lot more can and should be done. So education needs to be better, vocational training can be better, and of course the number of students from science engineering has to further increase going forward. So but I think there is a good base there. What I think is a challenge is land in order to build factories, and you know, some states are doing a good job, other states have a tougher time, and getting land is not easy. Having the infrastructure, physical and digital infrastructure, is a challenge, and a lot more needs to be done. And then I think we need better institutions, government services, agencies. I mean, everybody talks about one-stop shopping, but then you still have to deal with a multitude of agencies and institutions, you know, they can make life very difficult for you until you have the necessary permissions. And you know, in many states, lots of MOUs are being signed every year, and only a very small portion is actually being realized. And so I think it's very important to use the opportunities to make this work. The interest is certainly there. India, besides Southeast Asia, is, you know, the other big opportunity for having alternative production besides China. And I think, you know, the opportunities there, just need to grasp it and really provide also the conditions to make it work. So as I said, people, physical infrastructure, institutions, rule of law, so that you can rely on what is being agreed on. Now, I would not, you know, going to your second part, I would not overly emphasize this self-reliance, you know. I mean, Europe, North America, Japan, none of us is, you know, self-reliant, and trying that would be massively uneconomically, you know. So we need to really work together across the world. But I think, you know, there are opportunities to really have a strong base here in India, not just for India, but for the rest of the world, and to export a lot of stuff. So I would you know, de-emphasize the point of self-reliance, and I would emphasize the point of really providing opportunities for the rest of the world, because we all have to remain open economies. The moment you close down, you know, you will certainly suffer, and I think growth will be really much slower. Look at Latin America. They have never moved much beyond import substitution, except for Mexico, and it has meant, you know, staying a commodity play, and having relatively low rates of growth.
Bill, can you come in next?
Sure. You know, I think one of the big strengths here is that here we're sitting in the center of innovation and the center of creativity of so many world-class companies, as well as world-class companies that have grown up here in India. We're in the fastest growing startup ecosystem, I feel, and you can feel the energy that comes with that. And there's a tremendous amount of innovation and creativity that's coming. I think that's a tremendous advantage. How you harness that and adapt it and bring it to market most effectively and most quickly, both to meet India's needs as well as the global needs, with I will say, for instance, an example, production-linked incentives has been a real accelerator, I would say, in a way of public-private partnership to bring the investment that you've seen elsewhere in the world as a catalyst for companies that can actually grow and meet India's needs and actually grow our exports. I think that's a great example in cross sectors that we're seeing here today in India. When we think of self-reliant India, I think we also have to think about bringing the best capabilities and integrating here. And so in different sectors, it's defined differently. But I think what's important is, for us, at least in the defense domain, is to work with partners, integrate the best capabilities from around the world, developing those capabilities and partnering with companies here in India, delivering to meet India's requirements. But if it's a world-class solution to meet and pace the threats or the challenge, the demands that are needed, then it's also going to be a solution that we can export from India as well. And so I think that with the government incentives, both at the center and state level, the level of innovation and human capital, and I'll say creativity, we call it Jugaad here in India, right? It's what we say elsewhere is make it happen. And I think people have a personal drive and interest and capability to make things happen. And I think that's our future.
Yeah, so I'll try to be short, but the strengths, some of them are already talked. I think the strength we see in Karnataka, one of the ones I would like to mention is the collaboration that we can have with the government and the industry-government collaboration and the approachability we can have with the government, even advising them on some of the policy decisions that are most important for the industry. I think that is definitely one of the strengths, and we should continue on that. The second one, from our industry, semiconductor industry, the design is the skill availability in the state, and some of the research institutions or technology institutions that are available in the state, I think are of very high value add. The third one, I would say, from GlobalFoundries perspective, we have a lot of our partners and the people we work at the global level have a presence in the local ecosystem. And that allows us to work closely with them and really develop solutions that our customers require. And the last one, I would say, the overall fabless ecosystem that is developing very fast, the startup ecosystem here, we would definitely want the process technology of GlobalFoundries to be exposed to them so that they can really nurture their businesses in the future. So those are some of the strengths. I think on the self-reliance one, I would say we should look at, yes, self-reliance is okay. We should try to, take some enthusiasm built around it. But I think the lens we should look at it is from semiconductor perspective, what is the contribution of India in the overall semiconductor ecosystem? Are we increasing that contribution so that we have a play on the table when we are discussing, and we are not being hosed when there is a requirement that we need and we cannot, get the semiconductors from outside. So we should not be in a place where the national security is in danger. So our contribution in the semiconductor ecosystem, how do we increase that? I think should be one of our priorities rather than total self-reliance.
Can I just add one thing? I mean, what I think makes us all very optimistic, and why we at BCG are also very optimistic about India is the people. That is the biggest asset, as entrepreneurs, as scientists, as engineers, as workers. There is an enormous talent here, and it's just not Indians, not just here in India, but all over the world. And I think if this potential is unleashed, if India is open enough, if we can really make it work, and India will become a major center for production, but also for providing services as it already is in IT around the world. And I think, unleashing that potential is, I think, the most important thing, because the capabilities, the talent is here.
I think there's no better way to end this panel than on those words. We shouldn't try and improve on perfect or near perfect comments. So I'd like to end this session here, catch up on time, and wish the panel, thank the panel for being so generous with their time and being candid with their remarks. And thank you all for listening. So let's make it happen.
Would request you all to please stay back for a moment. Thank you, Nitin, for tackling the China part for us, and of course the global supply chains after, especially the 3 shocks that you mentioned during your panel discussion. May I please invite Mrs. Gunjan Krishna to please step up on stage to offer tokens of gratitude to all our guests, the panelists. India, epicenter of global supply chain shift. That was what you heard, or if you just walked in,